Well, good evening, everybody. Thanks for being here and practicing together. Greetings to everybody on the Zoom sphere. We don't generally, as a Sangha, study precepts, not precepts, we always study precepts, koans, not systematically, but tonight I wanted to talk, to bring a koan forth, actually a number of them, as a way of kind of giving structure to this contemplation, this inquiry we're going to do together. And so I'll read the koan and then do some reflecting. And please, as I read them, penetrate them for yourself in your own experience. So the one that inspired this for me was Yunmen's Golden Wind. And a monk asked Yunmen, when the tree withers and the leaves fall, what then? And Yunmen said, the body is exposed in the golden wind. A monk asked Yunmen, when the tree withers and the leaves fall, what then? Yunmen said, the body is exposed in the golden wind. So this image is a good one to help us enter the Dharma in this season of the year, to enter here, to consider the golden wind and what that is, what that refers to. What does it refer, what is the tree withers and the leaves fall? When we're in the autumn season and we see this all around us, this amazing autumn that we've had, where the colors of the trees have just progressed so subtly through this very long arc. And still, they're not all down. Some of them are down. Some of them are ready sooner than others. So this is a koan that features Yunmen. He is also called Umon. And he wants the golden wind to reveal itself as having a hold on all of us. He was born in 862. How that's known, I'm not sure, except that there are a lot of records kept in China. And he was a major Chan master of the Tang dynasty and a Dharma heir of Zhuifeng. Yunmen founded the Yunmen school, which is one of the 5 houses of Chan. And Chan is what we call Zen in the Chinese tradition. So when Yunmen had his first opening, he had been practicing for a while, and his first teacher said that he should go and see Master Mushin. And Mushin was very, very old at that time, but he was a very great Zen master. And so Yunmen went to see him and knocked on his door, no answer. So he came back the next day and he knocked on the door, no answer. Finally, the third day, Master Mushin asked, who is it? And Yunmen said, it's me, Yunmen. Mushin blocked the entrance and said, why do you keep coming here? And Yunmen said, because I'm not clear about myself. Mushin said, absolutely useless stuff. And he slammed the door on Yunmen's leg and broke it. And Yunmen awoke. As we tend to do in the process of breaking a leg. There's nothing else happening. It is absolutely this moment happening, huh? So that was his first opening. But we might ponder, so why did Musha say his question of, I'm not clear about myself, why did Musha have nothing to do with that? So that's the first part of the koan. There are always parts to koans. So we never know. We never know when we are going to have an experience that's going to really pop us awake. We're going to have an aha moment. And I know that a number of you have had this experience. One of the reasons why it's such a good idea to practice every day is that then you're more likely to be vividly affected by it, because if you're more quiet, you're more awake, whatever comes your way is really going to be more, it's going to have more of an effect. You're going to feel it. You're going to be imprinted a little bit more fully by your experience. Yun Men there are 18 koans in the Blue Cliff record involving Yun Men. He was a really major teacher. And many of them are pretty well known. So I'll share a few. So this is the first one. A monk asked Yun Men, what is the teaching that transcends the Buddha and patriarchs? Which is what they used to say, patriarchs. We've changed that to ancestors. What is the teaching that transcends the Buddha and patriarchs? And Yun Men said, a sesame bun. What would you say if somebody asked you that? What is the teaching that transcends the Buddha and patriarchs? That's a very intellectual question. And Yun Men just cuts right through, goes right beyond to an experience any of us might have. When you heard this term, a sesame bun, did you taste it? Here's another one. A monk asked Yun Men, what is Buddha? And Yun Men, and this is very famous, said, a dried shit stick. That's a good phrase because we really pay attention when we hear that. It's like, whoa, Zen is talking about shit sticks. What that refers to is, in the days when Yun Men was alive, they didn't have toilet paper. They didn't even use leaves. They just had sticks, and they would wipe their butt, get the big globs off that way. A dried shit stick. What is Buddha? So what does that mean? What is your understanding of that? And these have I just shared some of his shorter exchanges, and then there are a bit longer ones. So here's one. Yun Men addressed the assembly one day and said, I'm not asking you about the days before the 15th of the month, but what about after the 15th? Come, give me a word about those days. So can somebody step forward and give me a word about those days? Not before and not after the 15th of the month. These koans catch us. They catch us in our thinking mind. So what's happening here is what happened in the assembly when Yun Men asked this question of probably 500 monks were sitting there and nobody dared say a word. And he answered it. Every day is a good day. So that's a koan. Every day is a good day. How do you live into that? Every day is a good day. What does that mean? What is a good day? What is good? I'm not asking you about the days before the 15th of the month. I'm not asking you about the days after the 15th of the month. Say something about those days. Every day is a good day. Every day. So that's a great koan just to bring forward from today. And then, tomorrow, I think every day is a good day. What does that mean in relation to the Dharma, in relation to the vow to awakening? Every day we can be awake, every day. So now Yunmen's golden wind. A monk asked Yunmen, when the tree withers and the leaves fall, what then? And Yunmen said, the body is exposed in the golden wind. What body is exposed in the golden wind? What is the golden wind? And what other winds are there? So this koan brings up a lot of ways to look at our own experience. Withered trees and old stumps were used in Zen poetry of the time to refer to enlightened mind. So when the mind is enlightened, what then? The body is exposed in the golden wind. So we're looking around now and seeing piles of old leaves drifting along the curbs. They're arranging themselves in so many different ways. It's quite wonderful. Especially when, a few of the ones that remain on the trees just kind of, at a certain moment, their little attachments let go and they drift down. They're not even particularly dependent always on the wind to drop. So what are you dependent on? What is your life dependent on? The leaves in this are externalities that have had their moment and had their function and had their glory, and then they drop off. So this image looks past all the surface characteristic of what lies beneath appearances. And I would say in a Zen life, we become very aware of what is appearances and what is experience, and very savvy to how many assumptions we make about what's going on from the appearances, and rightly so, but it's not reliable. And one of the things we say about the Dharma is reliable. So that's quite a statement. The Dharma is reliable. If everything is transitory, how can the Dharma be reliable? Well, the Dharma are the teachings, and it's also all of phenomena. All phenomena are Dharma. So what's reliable about all phenomena? So there's another aspect to this question. What is the essence? What doesn't come and go with the seasons? What doesn't come and go about the zafu, the light bulb? So this question of what is the essence of Dharma isn't, it's not a casual question. And it's a very practical question. And it's a spiritual question for humans. We may be the only species alive on Earth now who wonder about these things. We can't know if we're the only ones, but we're the only ones who put a lot of effort into it. And the reason that this is very practical is that what lies beneath appearances is really the guide to the best response to any kind of circumstances. If we really get the nature of what's going on, we can respond more accurately and more helpfully. What is actually needed here and now? What helps? this is what practice helps us with. When we really get used to, we do it every day on the cushion, we sit and we just really look. We just look. And looking, we see. Sometimes we see more than other times. So one commentary on this koan tells the story of a horse trainer who was said to be able to size up a steed at a glance. He was very well known for his very accurate assessment of the potential of any animal, of any horse. And when it came time to choose a successor, he was expected to choose, at that time, his son, who had been with him his son's whole life, and his son was in his 30s, let's assume. But he didn't do that. He chose a groom in the stable to succeed him. And everybody was really surprised because this was just a peasant. Nobody ever noticed him particularly. But this horse trainer master, this master horse trainer, had been also working with this groom and recognized his clarity, had seen often how his judgment was extremely keen, even when it didn't seem, when it took him by surprise, when it took others by surprise. And so he could, he could look at a young horse and everybody would say, oh, look at how his conformation, beautiful this and beautiful that, and that's going to be a great horse. And this newly named successor would say, nice, good, but not excellent, and would point to a horse that nobody would agree was excellent because it wasn't kind of the standard. But the horse would grow up and be quite sublime, terrific performer. So we never know how accurately we're seeing and what is covered over, what covers over our clear eye, what gets in the way of being able to see what's really going on that needs attention. And usually, along life, we learn a lot about that from trial and error. We make assumptions that don't turn out, that don't get borne out. And we start to get hunches that even though it doesn't look this way, this would really work. So what gets in our way are our opinions, our habits, our beliefs, our preferences. Sometimes past experience has caused us to draw certain conclusions that are not necessarily repeatable, they're not necessarily reliable conclusions. And definitely our reactivity gets in our way. So we look at our habits in relation to this. And what came to mind here was there are 3 living generations now of Dharma teachers. And I'm in the oldest generation, and then there are the Gen Xers, and then there are the Gen Z. I don't know.
You can skip millennials, that's fine.
And there is a when I go to meetings of Dharma teachers, usually they are an older set. Sometimes we get younger teachers attending them, but mostly not. There is a Gen X organization, which is all 50 and under, and they've been. I have heard tell that there is some criticism about older teachers coming up. And this is interesting because when I was younger, I had some criticism of some of the elders. And I think that that's just part of what happens, actually, that we look more and more into. So it's always a challenge when you receive criticism. I don't know about for you, maybe you think you love it, but I don't. But we tend to really regard our own view and our own way of doing things and our own habits with great confidence, and it is good. And we get very attached to our own viewpoints. So when criticism comes along, the first thing, truthfully, is, wait a minute, you young whippersnapper, what are you talking about? So the younger folks, have you heard that term, whippersnapper? You have? Oh, okay. All right. It was always on the Mickey Mouse Club, years ago. They were young whippersnappers. But what's important is to say, and this is a habit I've gotten into, and I think it's really a reliable Dharma practice to say, what is the basis for their objections? Because everybody has a piece of the truth, everybody. What underlies, especially if we are practicing, we all are tuning into, we have the capacity to identify deeper truths. And all of us, no matter what generation we belong to, need to be listening to each other. So this is the heart of our vow, to foster a clear eye, to listen to criticisms, to see through the surfaces of our own reactivity or other people's reactivity, other people's opinions and preferences and my own, into the ego construction, into what we finally, with great gusto, appreciate and cling to as far as how we identify ourselves. And so it can be very challenging when what we love about ourselves is not loved by others. But there's a teaching in Dharma of emptiness, which is openness, possibility, and definitely how to live with not knowing. And the character of openness that comes with living into don't know mind continually refines our own clarity. It's a continuous process as we go along. How clearly we can see beyond the obvious and the surface appearances and the immediate expressions that may trigger us into various kinds of reactions. How clearly we can see beyond the surface of any situation, which into the conditions that animate it. I may disagree with the criticism and see its limitations, but there's always something there, essential, about that it's really important to see, important to become aware of, and to respect, and to respond to from respect, from a respectful position. And how do we do that? Well, first of all, we stop pushing ourselves against and separating from. If we, the whole, check in with your own body. The feeling of respect is a feeling of continuousness with the other. And there's a kind of reciprocal trusting that also colors a feeling of respect. So there's a Zen saying that says, unless you enter the tiger's cave, you cannot get the cub. Unless you enter the tiger's cave, you cannot get the cub. I love that. First of all, the first thing that happens when I hear that is I think of a really cute cub. So this is true for all who practice Zen, is not only for students but for teachers. No matter what our role is in life in relation to the group or to others, we need to hear each other. We need to listen and to hear. In order to hear, you must listen. In order to see, you must look. You must experience in order to be able to understand. These are very simple truths. You must be open in order to be a body in the golden wind. You must be open. Our life is a continuous measure, and it's not a fixed thing. Opening the Dharma eye to truth, to let the golden wind have hold of us. The essential requires us always to maintain the gaze of our direct experience. There are so many ways that we get distracted from our direct experience. There are so many reasons we come up with not to trust our direct experience. But the first thing and the continuous thing that we need to do is to be able to discern our direct experience, which is why Zazen. It's a very simple set of conditions that helps us directly experience what is happening any moment, any ordinary moment. And then when we see, we can become more adaptable and more flexible, trimming our sails according to the wind. It's one of the things that the situation in Israel and in Gaza demands, if it is ever going to be sorted out in any way that we would be glad about. So trimming our sails according to the wind, we deepen our skill in means, our approach to all circumstances, and it is kind of the art of living. Zen practice really is an art. You know, any artist looks at art all the time. We work at Zen all the time. It's not separate from time. The body is exposed in the golden wind. Probably we could say that's another way of talking about what we sometimes use the word nirvana for. When we are fully exposed in the golden wind, we are not fixed in any one spot, in any one condition. We're not fixated, rather. And that has a lot of significance when we think of sickness, old age, and death. Because when any of us encounter any of those, and we all will, the more we are able to be open to whatever the winds bring our way. I don't know how to finish that sentence. You finish that sentence. I think of this when I read this koan, I thought, this is a celebration. This is really a celebration of possibility here. John Tarrant says, if you don't think of sickness, you won't ruin your life with sickness, or sickness will not ruin your life. If you don't think of dying as a thing, dying won't ruin your life. Isn't that an amazing stress? That's an amazing statement. So I hope that there's something in this that inspires your practice. One of the things about this great body of literature, which are the collections of koans, is they're filled with so many different images that are metaphors that also just completely fill us up in our own experience when we explore them and refer to them and consult them in our own experience. So may we all do that.
Four great Bodhisattva vows are on page 5, chant